Hi, this is a solution to one of the two versions of Quiz1 that you guys took this week. So I'm going to go ahead and create the solution, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on establishing a center line because there's vertical symmetry here, and then I'll talk about where I'm going to put the origin and the arcs as I work through the part. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new part. By default, my settings are set to inch pound second, so I need to come down here and change my settings to millimeter gram second. I'll create a new sketch. I'll put it on the front plane, and now I'm going to go ahead and establish that center line. I'm going to make it vertical and infinite length, and I'll come over here and I'll select the origin, and then I'll hit escape to get out of that. Notice that I'm fully defined at this point. So I'm going to now select the center point arc slot. So I'll select my center point, go a little bit to the left, and drag a little bit out to the right, and pull just so I can get some width of my slot. Okay, a couple things. My center point of my slot, the location, is not connected to the center line until I pull it over and make it centered. All right, so now the slot will move, but it'll move symmetry around the center line. All right, so let's put a couple more of the dimensions in. Well, I need a 120-degree dimension. To do that, I really need to put some center lines in that go from point to point. So I'll select here, select the center, the origin, and select out here. And I'll go ahead and put my smart dimension in and go between these two lines and establish that at 120 degrees. The width of the slot, or the radius, is going to be 9. All right, so we have most of the dimensions on. We do need to put the radius in. So go to my smart dimensions, select here, and the radius is 41. We'll zoom in a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and add in the larger arc. So we'll go with our center point arc tool. I'll select here, I'll come out, and I'll go horizontal, and didn't get it again. There we go. And looking for the witness line that shows me that I'm going to be horizontal with the other part. So, but they're still going to move on me, so what I can do here is select that point, hit my control key, and select the center point and make those horizontal to each other. And I can do the same thing over here and make those horizontal to each other. Now I can put the radius in up top. That's what I'll do right now, but the radius is going to be half of 123 because this is the diameter. So I'll go smart dimension. I'll select here, it wants to give me the radius, so I'll go 123 divided by 2. And that sets us up, and now we are fully defined at this point. And now what I'll do is I'll create basically the rectangle here. I'll just do it with 3 lines. So I'm going to come here. I'm not going to again worry about the dimension. I'll put it in afterwards. And again, looking for that blue witness line let me know that I'm directly below that part. So these 2 lines are now fully defined. It's just the length here that's not defined. So if we go over to our diagram, we see that it's kind of dimensioned in a curious way. Now I can put it right in because I can just take my 22 and add 78 to it. So let's do it like that. So I'll say smart dimension, click this line, and I can do 22 plus 78, and that'll get me my total distance, which is 100. I might as well go ahead and put that center hole in. So I'll just take here and I'll put that hole in, and the distance is 22. So if I go smart dimension, now here's the thing, I'm going to be dimensioning to a point now. So from the circle to the point. Now I had a couple students that were having issues because they were dropping the dimension this way. Well, that's going to be a point to point. That's not what I want, and I don't want the horizontal. I need to pull out here until I get the vertical dimension. I make that 22, and the diameter of this is 36. All right, so now we got to put a slot in the bottom. So For this slot, I'll use a center point straight slot because that allows me to put the center on this center line. And I'll pull out here horizontally and last drop its radius. So go to my Smart Dimension tool, and its radius is 12. The distance between its 2 points, I can go circle to circle, or I can just grab this line, and that is 45. And its distance up from the bottom is 23. And again, just going to keep pointing it out to you that my sketch is, again, fully defined. It's best to do this, especially when you're kind of new at this whole thing. So the next thing to do is put in these two circular cutouts. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use an arc tool. I'm actually going to use a circle tool here. So I could use the arc tool, but I'm just going to select here. Be careful again that you do not accidentally select the center line, because you wouldn't be able to get your correct height dimension here. So I'm just going to click anywhere here. And again, I'll select anywhere here. Now, there's symmetry here. So I could actually, this circle is pre-selected. I'll hold down my control key and I'll select this circle. And when I let go, I can make these two circles symmetric to each other. And what that means is that if I pull one circle up or down or make their diameter, they'll follow with each other. So I only need to put the dimension in once, so it's 54. So I'll select my Smart Dimension tool. I'll use this circle. It doesn't matter since they're linked. There's 54, and they're giving this as a radius of 18, so I need to put this diameter in as 2 times 18. Okay, and then the last thing I need to do is put my fillets in. There's 2 fillets here at radius 23. So I'll come here, selecting the fillet tool. The fillet parameter here is 23, and I'll select the 2 points. So this point's going to be filleted, and that point is going to have a fillet. Do it there. Now, if you want to, you could totally extrude this thing now, or if you want to make it so that you don't have to select contours, you can trim these 2 circles out. I'm not going to bother. I don't like trimming if I don't need to. So I'll say I'm done. And we need to extrude this to 28 millimeters. So let's do that. So we'll go Features, Extruded Boss Base. So it's going to ask me what contour I want to select. So it's just that one. And my distance is 28 millimeters. So we'll say OK. And there's our part. And now we need to check if one of our answers, if our volume matches one of these answers, hopefully. So we'll come up here, we'll go to Mass Properties, and our volume is 354, which is this top one, 354,083. Okay, so that gives us the first answer. So now let's take a look at what the second portion of this needs to be. I think I actually closed that down, so let me go back into it and grab it out. Okay, so we're being asked to change 2 dimensions. So this is 110 and this is 133. So let's go back to my sketch and I'll edit it. So now, by the way, if you didn't like putting in this radius or diameter here, you could always delete it and go ahead and put your Smart Dimension and just put it in between these 2 vertical lines, and it'll come back as 123, making it fully defined. Maybe you'd prefer that since you need to change this dimension. So I'm just going to double click on that dimension and make it 133 and hit enter, and then I'll double click on the 120 degrees, make it 110 degrees, and I will close out the sketch. That'll update my my part, and I need to then go into my Boss Extrude and edit that and set the extrude distance to 15. So once I do both of those, we can go ahead and check for our surface area, and we'll go to our Mass Properties, and our surface area ends up being 45,396.02 square millimeters. All right, so hopefully you were able to get that. If not, hopefully this solution process works for you, and if it does, and it does make sense, I'd recommend doing it a couple times, just so you get the muscle memory down of the interface and the clicks and the escapes and the control keys and whatnot. Okay, hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something.